Hello, welcome to Real Film Snobs. I'm Brian Michael.
And I'm Angela Yeager. We have a terrific show for you this week, as always. We have a zombie comedy. We have some streaming picks for you in celebration of Halloween. And we have a fresh pick. And we have a blaxploitation comedy
And a German film
satire.
as well. We have a foreign German.
Well, I said fresh
foreign
pick.
film.
Oh, a German foreign
Yeah.
film. Yes, there you go. And as always, you just have to follow us on our various social media pages or go to YouTube and hit that little subscribe button. So you saw a clip at the top of the show for Zombieland 2 Double Tap, which promises to be double the fun. This is Zombie Slayers Wichita, Tallahassee, and Columbus, and they're headed to Graceland to try to save Wichita. And if you're trying to remember who all those characters are, it doesn't matter. They'll remind you a million more times as you watch this movie. This time they've also introduced Rosario Dawson, who's completely wasted in a small role as kind of a love interest to Woody Harrelson. And Luke Wilson, who I wish I could say he was wasted, but he's just a waste in general. You know, going into this, I liked the first Zombieland movie a lot. I mean, I don't think it's a 5-star film by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a really good, solid comedy. I was looking forward to a good comedy. Maybe we'll get to talk about one later. This was not it. And you and I already know what we thought of it, because sometimes film snob fans, when you're sitting next to someone, you try really hard to show what you think of a movie, and sometimes you just can't. And I think Brian and I, by the squirming and rolling of the eyes and the sighing happening.
No, I turned to you and just said, oh my God, this is bad.
Yes, yeah. And the fact that he just turned to me and bluntly said, this was really terrible.
No, I could tell in the first, okay, so the original one I thoroughly enjoyed. It's a sub-classic film. And the opening is probably one of the greatest opening credits, sequences, that in Deadpool of all time, really, right up there with Hitchcock. Yeah, I said it. And this one, right off the bat, you could feel it. It was just running in sand. It just was running in quicksand. It just couldn't get going. And within the first 5 minutes, I thought, oh, Woody Harrelson's yelling all of his lines, trying to pump this up. Emma Stone is given nothing to do whatsoever. Jesse Eisenberg is given the same things to repeat over and over. And what worked in the first film, they just repeat it over and over with the rules, and they have someone else come in and they go rules back and forth. And after a while, I'm like, what? Really? I mean, no new ideas whatsoever. Not even playing like a watered-down version of the first one because, hey, this made you laugh the first time, remember? And not even that. It was like they got the original 2 writers and then brought in somebody who wrote The Expendables and Doom. Oh wait, they did, and that maybe that's what happened.
Did you look up the writers?
I looked up the writers because
there's 3 writers that took to write this thing.
This movie, and then the director, ever since Zombieland, has just been a lesser and lesser returns, and I just think the well is dry here. This is such an incredible cast. I mean, even the trailer was like, Academy Award winner, Academy Award nominee, Academy Award nominee. Nothing. It is. I could not remember.
These are all really
I thought we already reviewed the film.
Yeah.
When I was putting my notes together, did we review it already?
I just forgot that we saw it all together. Yeah, when I was putting my notes together, I just remembered I saw it, but I was thinking, it was a lot longer ago than it actually was. Yeah, it's really poor.
It's so
And they even bring back Bill Murray, who was like a big, nice surprise in the first one. That part I thought was lame.
I didn't even care. It was a post-credit scene. I didn't care.
Especially it was at the end, and it felt really long. It's incredible. It took 3 writers to write this mess. It's like not a single original idea came out of it.
But not even a funny one. I mean, you have 3 people 4 actors that can do this, and they're given absolutely nothing. And even in the first one, when they're traveling west, and as they travel west, they destroy Native American artifacts in this in the store, making their way to the commercialism of a big, huge playland of like Disneyland type, which I would expect you would appreciate that sort of undertone. There's nothing in this movie, and if there is, it's underneath really, really, really bad jokes. This movie is way too long. I kept looking at Emma Stone going, oh my God, you have an Academy Award. You're an amazing actress. You are so funny. But she's not giving anything. At least Jesse Eisenberg gets to rattle off rules, but she's giving nothing.
Which is what he did in the first movie, though.
Yeah.
And Woody Harrelson, also an Oscar nominee, by the way, and has had quite a nice career resurgence in recent years. Also given nothing to do.
He's always good, but here is just...
Yeah, but he just looks like he's kind of running through the... He's just kind of...
He hasn't given anything.
Yeah,
what do you do?
There's nothing to do.
You can't inflate a tire with a empty balloon.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just terrible.
A really, really poor film. So yeah, this would, if we still did worst of the year lists like we used to in the old days, it would definitely be on
it's a
there.
worst. It's so incredibly disappointing.
Right.
Here you have just this high caliber cast. It's
Yeah,
a
they
great
got everybody
premise.
to return,
Yeah.
and 10 years later, I mean, so it wasn't like an immediate, like, oh, we need to do this for some money type of thing.
I
'cause
just want to hear
it's been
some
a while.
jokes. You kill some zombies, and that's it. They bring in
Yeah.
these new Terminator-style zombies. Nothing comes of that. We don't really care. There's
Yeah,
no
they
real
set
danger.
up a premise for that too. Like
Yeah.
that's going to be a big part of the
Yeah.
plot, and it's nothing. There's no
Nothing.
payoff of that at all.
Zero. Not even a big dumb decision of going to a Disneyland type place where it's loud, obnoxious, where zombies will get you and then you're stuck. And that's the big flaw of the first one. But I didn't mind that. No one ever reloads. It's like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, loaded their guns. They never run out of bullets. I mean, that's when you're bored. When you're like, wow, don't they ever? We had a refill of
Yeah, electricity works
clip or
everywhere.
something?
Gasoline, they always find that.
They
and
talk about that at first.
They talk about it, but it's still pretty hard to believe, especially as many years as it's been. But it's
Sure.
fine. But that shows you're bored, because in a comedy, normally you wouldn't even be caring about any of those things. You'd just be like, oh, I'm having a good time.
is
I don't
fun.
care that the movie doesn't make any sense. So
Oh my gosh, I didn't even look at my notes. Yeah, it was just like, it's the guy who wrote The Expendables and Godzilla.
it also looked really terrible. And I just have to mention that, particularly, when they shoot people in action scenes against green screens and they look weird.
Yeah.
There were some of the action scenes I thought, oh, like, don't they have it? Isn't this a major studio movie? Like, why does this look like some? It was poor. It looked kind of cheesy, not in a good way.
Oh, there was a big monster truck at the end. I thought that was a good idea, but at that point in time, I didn't care. And yeah, Rosario Dawson. Oh, what a waste.
Yeah, she's also that's what I'm saying, a waste of a good cast. So.
Okay. Okay. Let's cleanse our palates now, and let's take a look at our next film. Look at the clip here for Dolemite is my name. Just saw a clip for Dolemite is my name, and here on the show we really pride ourselves on finding discoveries. Guess what we found this week? Eddie Murphy. Oh my gosh, he's still out there. And he's not just making bad movies. This is a movie I can actually recommend. Eddie Murphy plays the title character of Rudy Roy Moore, who was an actual actor who made the movie Dolemite, a blaxploitation film in the 70s. If you haven't seen it, I really highly recommend it, especially if you enjoy blaxploitation films, as well as The Human Tornado, which was the sequel. And there's Disco Godfather, which I haven't gotten to yet, but if you watch the extended trailer on YouTube, it looks awesome. And so he's playing Rudy, who's failed, or I guess he's trying to break into the industry and becomes a stand-up comedian and finds rural success, and then is able to make his own movie, which is Dolemite. But in the standout centerpiece of this film is Eddie Murphy, who was just like Jennifer Lopez a few weeks ago. I kept going, wow, this guy's really good. Where's he been? Wow, this is good.
Movie stars coming back.
They can have a good joke, a decent joke, but he can make it fly, and they can just
he's
off
so
a
good.
reaction, he can just turn and go, did I get it? And smiles, and man, is it absolutely hilarious. It is so funny.
Yeah.
This is such a good movie. It's available in theaters. It's also available on Netflix on streaming at the same time. It's one of those weird coincidences. So if you can support your local theater like you can with Angela did, or if you're busy like myself and you're able to have to watch it at home, that's what you do. But I'm so glad you enjoyed this, because I sat there going, I had such a good time, and I wish I was in the theater, because a comedy is much better
With a crowd.
with a group.
Even though we had a small crowd, we were all laughing. I think most of us, probably me more than anyone, but who knows? I felt like I was laughing a lot. So I'm an Eddie Murphy fan. I grew up watching Eddie Murphy in my household. We were big fans in my house, and it was so wonderful to see him back in a comedy, an R-rated movie, by the way, where he gets to use the M word, mother something, right off the bat, and that was like, a word that Eddie Murphy could say like nobody else before Samuel L. Jackson even. And, he is Rudy Ray Moore. It's a biopic of sorts. It's a biopic and a blaxploitation movie. And there's also a great supporting cast around him. Wesley Snipes, I have to bring him up, as D'Urville Martin. D'Urville Martin. He is so good in this. I cracked up from the minute he came and screamed. I thought, I posted on our Real Film Snobs Twitter account, if there was any justice in the world and there was any recognition for comedy at the Oscars, which there won't be, he would be nominated for supporting actor, because every time he came on screen, I just started laughing. He was so funny. He plays this kind of like prima donna actor who's kind of like, deigning to be in this, little low budget production, and they kind of wave the carrot in front of him as being director of the film too. And all he does is stand there and then just go action. But he's barely recognizable, but he's so funny in this role. And you have this great cast: Keegan-Michael Key, Mike Epps, Craig Robinson, who's really funny. funny, and also sings in the movie, and he sings the theme song. And Divine Joy Randolph, who I really enjoyed as Lady. And so there was just this great supporting cast around Eddie Murphy. But what you were said is right. Eddie Murphy is back. He is such a movie star. And it is a good comparison to Jennifer Lopez because when he came on screen, he just lights up the screen. You remember, he is
Big
a
time.
movie star.
Yes.
And we forgot about that because we haven't seen him in anything. And then he spent so many years just making these horrible
Daddy
kids
Daycare.
movies.
It was awful.
Daddy Daycare too. I mean, it started with Nutty Professor, which is a great film, but then from there he started making all these like family-friendly movies and trying to water down his image. And he could just, I feel like you can tell he's having a good time.
Imagine that was one of them as well.
I tried to
House.
not imagine
Actually,
that.
I'll correct you, Angela. Daddy Daycare 2 starred Cuba Gooding Jr.
Oh yeah, he wasn't in
Anywhere.
that. Good.
If that could be any worse.
Yes,
wow.
It could be. But he, I feel like you can tell he's having a good time too, and so that makes you have a good time.
Well,
with him.
this comedian was a big influence on him. They dedicate the movie to Charlie Murphy, his brother, and you can really feel the love, you can feel the joy, you can feel that excitement behind it, and did you watch Dolemite? Did you be inspired to watch it? It's available on streaming as well,
I just haven't had
and you
time
got to
yet.
watch it because it's good, and it's so bad it's good. It's one of those that just kind of goes back and forth, and now that you kind of know the back story, because I watched Dolemite first, then watched this, you can go back and forth.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend that too.
And Craig Brewer, who directed it, it's only done a couple other films, but Hustle and Flow was one of them, which you love. And Black Snake Moan was his other one with Samuel Jackson and Christina Ricci, and that is well, let's just say it's a well-shot movie, and it's kind of a weird movie. But this one also has a beautiful look to it, great cinematography. So I highly recommend it. 3.5.
Okay, I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna give 4. Everybody.
No, 3.5.
Stand back. Okay, so move on to our next segment, which is our streaming segment. And actually, Angela had the wonderful idea of doing instead of doing a streaming six.
A screaming six.
Screaming
That's
six
what
is
we
even
should have
better.
called it.
Now it's my idea. It's a scary. What do we call the scary streaming six, or the scary screaming six? Oh, I like that. Usually
Or
that's
just a screaming six.
Yeah. So, because it's the Halloween, tis the season of Halloween, we're going to do our picks of scary films. I can only say that so many times. So I'm going to start off with cheating just a little bit because it's available on streaming, but you had to purchase it. But it's available to watch next week after Halloween. Why they would do this. Scary Stories in the Dark that was released earlier this year. It was in theaters and it actually got a lot of legs and did quite well in the box office, working by word of mouth, which is, that still happens, Angela. It's a collection of different scary stories, and one of them actually did make me scream out loud. And one of them is kind of typical, but I still enjoyed it. There's some good jump scares, there's some good special effects, and they're good little stories. It kind of reminded me of like a creep show, but done well, and not campy.
Right.
And so I can easily recommend this film. All the different little stories, I thought they don't intertwine with one another, but they're certainly really good and really juicy and a lot of fun.
So, and I have not seen that yet, so I will have to wait for it to come available on streaming.
Or just
which
buy
is
it.
the reason it's your pick. I'm not
You
going
can buy a movie you haven't seen. That's insane.
I'm not going to buy it. No.
I don't get people to do that.
No. Okay, so my first pick is Cat People from 1942, and this is available on streaming. And Val Lewton, who's a famous producer who did a bunch of horror films, is one of the few producer auteurs, did these great films in the 40s. The Cat People is just kind of has this film noir feel to it, these great black and white photography, use of shadows, and of course went on to inspire multiple remakes. But the original Cat People from 1942 is the one you really want to see. It's so good. It's not scary, like
It's ambiance.
it's more ambient scary. Yeah, more like spooky, but not, not like keep you awake scary. So if you're in the mood for something that's just got some ambiance and is really intelligent. And
You got to have a really good sound system, and if you don't find your friend who does, surround. If they should have it in surround.
Yes,
that
the
would be really
sound,
good,
the
'cause
design is
the sound design
amazing.
is very, very key to
Amazing.
that film. I'm going to move on to, I have 2 slasher films. From 1983, Sleepaway Camp. This was a film that I had always heard about and you could never, ever find. I had to rent it off VHS at Movie Madness a few years back because it was that hard to find. Now you can find it on streaming because it's one of the nice things about streaming. Some of these films are actually you can find on there. Sleepaway Camp is kind of your typical kind of Friday the 13th knockoff where it's the kids at a sleepaway camp, and they're all killed, knocked off one by one. The making of story is very interesting. I highly recommend that. And then, of course, it has one of the most famous last shots in film, certainly in horror film history. A big shocker, a big twist at the very end that is jaw-dropping and quite amazing. And when you watch it on VHS as well as you rewound and pause and were like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Really, really cool movie. Have you ever seen that? You still haven't seen it, and it's available now. So you got to find it on streaming.
Free on streaming? Yeah.
I believe so. Yes, I think
Sleepaway
it's.
Camp.
I think
Okay,
it was
I've
Prime.
never seen it. So
Really, really cool.
movie.
It's a slasher movie. Some of it's a little hokey, but it's still good. But that ending is just, it's awesome.
Like Black Christmas type ending?
Possibly.
Okay. Yeah, it's intriguing. Okay, I will definitely have to check that out. So you had
Yeah.
two I hadn't seen. Okay. Well, my next one, I'm sure almost everyone has seen, and I know Bryan's seen it, but I had to pick it anyway. Silence of the Lambs from 1991, because I like to pick movies that people. I don't know if you.
No one's
consider it a
ever
horror.
seen that. It made over $120 million and won 5 Oscars. Huh.
I think everyone's seen it, but I wanted to bring it up for this because it's not a movie that gets considered necessarily a horror movie in the slasher, but it's scary. I mean, this movie scared me when I saw it, and I think, oh yeah, I find it scary. You don't find Hannibal Lecter scary?
No, he's on the screen for 15 minutes.
Did you see the same movie I saw?
Yeah, he's on the screen for 15 minutes.
Silence of the Lambs is scary. I'm sorry,
Really?
I find it a scary movie. To me, things that are real sometimes seem a little scarier than
the
things you're scared of, like
I only like the
sharks and masked men. This
dark,
seems very real.
The night vision scene was scary. I thought that was pretty good, but then Jodie Foster always kind of spooks me a little bit. So yeah.
Are you not a fan of Silence of the Lambs? Is that what you're trying to say?
I liked it.
Oh, are you kidding me? This movie's a classic,
It's a
Bryan.
3-star film.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I didn't, how did I not know this about you?
I saw that in the theater and went, really? Roger Ebert and Gene liked this a lot. And then I looked it
did
up and I was
I
like,
not
oh, they
know
gave
this
it a
about
3.5.
you?
Yeah. No, it's good. It's
No,
good. It's not a great movie.
This is a 4-star film.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not a
it's
great
always
movie.
been a 4-star. Oh, no, you were wrong.
No.
Oh, no.
He is not best. He was not best actor. He was best supporting actor at best because he was in the movie for 15 minutes.
Well, no, but that doesn't have anything to do with how good the movie is.
But that's the thing that they always point out is that when the 5
I
Academy
can't
Awards are
believe that you only
it's
give
good.
this 3 stars.
It's a good movie, but
Silence of the Lambs is a classic.
but considered by most. Sure, so is The Graduate, but.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. I'm so floored by that. I can't even get over it. Okay.
We've never had this discussion?
I can't believe we haven't.
Really?
Of all the movies we've talked about, and we've talked about a lot over the years.
Well, there's a reason why we were talking about it, because I thought it was okay.
Yeah, episode 502, I find out you didn't love Silence of the Lambs.
No, I don't love it.
So
Yeah,
weird.
it was good. It was good.
Okay.
The face thing where they pulled, I was like, I said, that's not him. I saw that coming. And then then he set up the ambulance. I'm like, he's an old man. Punch him. It's fine. It's like being scared of Chucky.
In this movie. Oh, you're so
it.
wrong. It's so creepy. The way he gets, it's psychological horror. I mean, to me, that's way scarier than slasher. It's a bunch of people running around, Sleepaway Camp.
Buffalo Bill was treated, I was like, do we need to see this? Really? Another gay person that's a villain? Oh, wonderful. Hollywood movies, great.
Yeah, Jonathan Demme is a pretty progressive director, though, overall. Anyway, so, okay, well, you go to your next. I'm too floored to.
Manhunter. I like Manhunter a lot.
Okay,
cool.
move on. What's your next one?
All right, so my next one actually is from 1974, Black Christmas. We have talked about this movie before. I do love this film. It is, as much as I love Halloween, the movie, this one is technically the first slasher picture, knocking off young women one at a time, as most slasher films do. The reason I brought this up is because they're remaking it again. And the last remake was so incredibly terrible and so infuriating that when I was teaching my nephew about films and we got into horror films, I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to watch Black Christmas. And he was like, holy smokes. Then I showed him the remake, and within 5 seconds, you know who the killer is. And he was like, wait, that was the whole thing about the first. Wait, they just ruined. Why would you do that? I'm like, yeah, this is what a bad remake does. This is so stupid when you put everything on a plate and forward for everybody. So Black Christmas, these young women in a sorority are terrorized by someone who's and it is terrifying, and some of the sound design in this one is actually really terrifying, and the last shot in this movie is haunting as all hell.
Yeah, one of the greatest last shots, period.
Fantastic.
I'm interested to see the new remake coming out. They're really touting it, but we'll see.
Really can't beat it. And then the fact that it was directed, oh no, I'm forgetting the director's name, who also directed A Christmas Story. I mean, the two great,
Christmas movies.
Yeah, Christmas movies.
Yeah,
That's
it'll
fantastic.
be interesting. I don't really know what the point of the remake is, but yeah. Money, yeah.
It's Hollywood, Angela.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But
that's
anyway.
why they made sequels.
Well, they're
Silence of the Lambs.
How
many of those did they make?
They're saying this is a more feminist version of Black Christmas.
Then they would beat up the guy in the. Okay.
So my last scary streaming pick is also another one that's not very scary, but a lot of fun. The Old Dark House from 1932. It's a pre-code comedy horror film directed by the great James Whale, who of course is famous for directing
Other gay people. You mean Bride of Frankenstein?
Yeah,
And Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Thank
well, he's
you,
also known
Bryan.
for being pretty queer. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what he was
okay.
known for.
Yes, but that's not the answer I was looking for, Bryan. I was testing your film knowledge, but apparently also your knowledge of James Whale's personal life. So, and this is a great one. So Boris Karloff is in this, Melvin Douglas, Charles Lawton, of course, who
I haven't seen this one.
Yeah, it's on
Good
Criterion,
pick.
and
Well, I knew that.
yeah, of course. But it was so much fun, and this is the movie that's considered the template for the archetype, if you will, for the cast of curious characters of eccentric, different people, all assemble in an old, in a spooky house type movie, and so you've got the, eccentric, the eccentric woman, and then you've got the player, he's like the playboy, and Boris Karloff is the scary butler, and, so you have, and with, of course, full makeup on and all this, so you have all these eccentric characters all come together. Yeah, it's a hoot. So it's more of a comedy horror, I mean, much more comedy than horror.
We said scary, Angela. We put scary
it's
in the
technically
title.
supposed to be a horror movie, but
I mean, even like The Haunting had that great rubber door. Oh, that still freaks me out.
Sometimes I like a movie that's, a little out of the ordinary. So, okay. So those are some great picks for you. Hope everyone has a great Halloween season, and we will move on now to her fresh pick. That's the movies that I pick that are critically acclaimed movies from the current year. And this newest one is Transit from 2019. And by the great German director Christian Petzold. And this is about a man who, in an attempt to flee German-occupied France, he assumes the identity of a dead writer and ends up falling for the writer's wife. So this is the director who previously did a film called Barbara, another fantastic movie, and also Phoenix, which of course made my top 10 of that year.
Mine as well.
And yours?
Didn't that make mine?
I don't know. I only know my own. I can't keep track of yours too. And like that movie, this one very much deals with issues of identity and issues of loss, which is profound in this one. What he does with this story, which is really fascinating, and I watched this with my parents, and it took us a little while to figure out what's going on, is he overlaps the past and the present. So at first you're like, oh, okay, so this is Nazi era Germany, and then slowly as you're watching the film, you start to realize, oh, what's going on? My dad was the first to notice those cars are new. Those are new cars. So you start.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Not right. Oh. Not in the first minute because I didn't read about the movie.
No, that's
going
okay. That's okay.
You knew about that right away.
Yeah, I heard about that. So
well, I hadn't. I went in blind
because I wanted to talk about it.
So that was super fun. So I went in totally blind to that. So what it does is, what I thought was really interesting, especially in this current moment where we're talking about issues with refugees. He places the context of refugees. He puts it in both a historical context, thinking about the issue of Jewish refugees in Nazi Germany, but it puts them in this current context in a way, but without hitting you with the head over that. I mean, it's super subtle. So if you're
Nazis, we don't see anything like that.
You don't see swastikas. You don't see anything. No. You see troops in the
Cops,
streets, but police,
something
but you
like
don't
that.
see. But it's all very ambiguous.
Yes.
What you do get the scent is this just atmosphere, pervasive atmosphere of fear and loss, and this feeling of these people who are completely without a home and they're desperate to get somewhere but they can't get out, and that claustrophobia that sets in. I thought this was a fantastic movie.
I'm going to agree and disagree with you on that, and it's for a great reason as well. This is such a good-looking film. And usually when it's a film about stark times and stark, horrible things that are going on, it's usually got a stark look. It's usually got a dreary look, usually dark. This is a colorful and good-looking film, and that really messed with my head because it was just like, wait,
right. Well,
this is horrible things going on. Yeah. And it's just, people are wearing vibrant colors, and they do talk about the fact that, some people are just living their lives as they normally would, but it was like, it looks, if you had no sound, for the most part, you'd be like, oh, wow, people are having some, conversations, but what a beautiful looking film, beautiful looking people. It was such a juxtaposition. It really kind of, in a good way, but it was just, I kept kind of going, wait, what are you doing here? It really messes with you with that, and I really like that part of it. I really enjoyed this film, certainly the ending. Oh, that was, hopes I don't give everything away. It was a really happy ending. Oh. And,
not so much.
But, and I liked it. I thought that was a little long there in the middle there for a bit because it had some great momentum going on because I was leaning forward in my seat, especially in that train scene and the other things were running around. It lulled a little bit there. because I guess it probably did need to take a breath. But then, yeah, it's a fantastic film.
Oh yeah, I think it's a 4-star film. I was so swept away. I didn't know where it was going. I was like, where is this going?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is unsettling because it's set in the south of France, so it's beautiful. You're by the water.
Yes.
It's not one of these grim films. It's not that. I can't remember his name, but the director, the
Well, it
Polish
is a
director.
grim film, but it just looks great.
Well, but unlike that, the Polish director who's done several Nazi era films where it feels like you're in the Saul's Son or whatever it was, the one where Son of Saul, where you feel like it's just like the horrors of war. This is very much like people are going about their daily business while they're in cafes while they're also fighting for their lives, and that's much more like how things are. So it to me it was very compelling.
It's a really brave choice to do that.
I thought
really incredible.
He is just really a terrific filmmaker. Yep. So anyway, so to wrap up, so we had some good movies this week. So except for Zombieland 2, which we really cannot recommend. Could be one of the could be towards the worst of the year that we've seen anyway. Dolemite is My Name. We both highly recommend. Yep. And we had our scary streaming picks and Transit, which we also recommend. As always, you can check us out on our website at realfilmsnobs.com, on YouTube, on KMUZ, on Corvallis Access Media, and Silverton. As always, I'd like to thank my fantastic co-host, our wonderful crew, and our amazing sponsors. Thank you for watching. Have a good day, or have a great day, and great movies.